Welcome to Real Health with me, Karl Henry. Folks, it's one of our life lessons episodes where we bring in really interesting people and we shoot the breeze. We chat to them about their life, how they ended up there, if that was their plan all along, if it wasn't, and we just catch up with them and see how they are. For today's episode, I'm delighted to be joined by Alan O'Reilly, who you will know as Carlow Weather, Ireland, an international weatherman sensation. He's in studio. Alan, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. Thanks very much. Thanks for inviting me.
Sensation, huh? It is sensational, though, isn't it? We'll get to know you a little bit. We'll start here because I've gone with it. You have really become, like, you're a national institution at this stage with regards to the weather.
Yeah, it's a bit of a funny one. It's a bit of a funny one to be starting to get recognised by people and stuff like that. So it's...
How do you find that?
Yeah, it's a bit weird. It is a bit weird. But to be fair, like, even though I generally give bad news, people are always very positive towards me, in person at least, maybe not online. But no, it's cool. It's cool. Was that always the plan? That's an important question. No, it really wasn't. So I'm a bit of a tech nerd. I've always been a techie growing up, and I've always had a fascination with snow. So when I was growing up, I always wanted to know, will it snow? Why didn't it snow? Why was it sleet? Why did it snow on Mount Leinster and not in my house in Tullow and things like that? And then I was always into technology. Like, I was the first one in my school to have a mobile phone, a laptop back in the late 90s. I know that sounds strange.
The aerial.
Yeah.
I had it ready to go when it was purple, and although I can remember the box. I remember where I bought it.
Yes.
In Dawson Street, and it was like I remember them. It's gas.
So then I got a weather station, kind of a cheap and cheerful one, and I decided to register the domain carlowweather.com, set up a website, and get the weather station to talk to the website. That was kind of like the tech project, really. So it started off as just a tech project, really, and then 2010 came. And we had the big snow, and we had 2 cold spells, actually. And my weather station was dropping live every 60 seconds updates, and it dropped down to minus 17.7 degrees. So it kind of got a bit of traction online, actually, on boards.ie and a few other places. And I ended up talking to the late Jerry Ryan on the Rhine line. And yeah, I kind of, as I always use the really bad pun card, it snowballed from there.
We have a sound engineer who's loving that line, loving the pun. All right, Gav. Okay. So then, and that was it. That was the moment where it all just took off.
It kind of, yeah. And then I suppose social media came along, and I started posting on Twitter and then Facebook, and then afterwards Instagram, and now TikTok and Blue Sky and Threads and all of them. And I started it started off with the weather station automatically tweeting. It wasn't me tweeting. It was just the weather station was automatically pushing out every hour what the weather was like in my back garden in Tullow. And then I started kind of interacting a bit with that and started posting, and people in Ireland love weather.
What is it about the weather that we love so much? We're obsessed by it more than anywhere. I have clients all over the world, and over the last couple of years with COVID, obviously, and like you're like, oh, how's it going? You're talking to like someone in Berlin or in like Germany, and they're like, I'm like, how's the weather? And they're like, grand, yeah. Or like, you ask an Irish person how the weather is, and it's like a 2-minute conversation.
I think it's mainly down to how changeable it is, and also the fact that we can't plan anything or rely on it. So people are obsessed because there's always something outdoors that they're thinking about doing, whether it be tomorrow, the weekend, big event coming up. There's always something that people have. And again, as well, like across the island, it's a very small island, but as you know, it can vary so much. What I post in Carlow, like I'll post me doing a live update, and it'll be blue skies and sunshine, and I get all these messages from the west of Ireland, and it's not like that here. So I think the fact that it varies so much across the island as well.
There's pressure, isn't there, first of all?
Pressure's for tyres, Carl.
And the weather, obviously. But there is pressure with it. If people are on to you looking for electric picnic, my wedding, and I've sent you several DMs about events that I've done or whatever. What's the weather going to be like? Like you're getting a lot of big questions from people.
The wedding is the hardest one.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to tell a bride-to-be that it's going to rain on her wedding day is a hard thing to do, especially when there's no chink of light. There's no hour to get the photographs, or we try and find some. Like, I'm a very positive person. People who know me, I'm a very positive person. So I'm always a glass half full. But sometimes there's nothing in the glass, and you just have to tell it as it is. But yeah, and I suppose again with storms and things and snow, like trying to forecast snow in Ireland is notoriously difficult.
Why?
It's just because we never get very rarely we get like 2018, 2010, where you have the really cold in place, and no matter what falls, it falls as snow. But generally it's a mix of sleet, snow, depends on elevation, depends on where it falls. Like, last year in January we had very heavy snow down around the Tipperary Mountains and different areas, but like it was so localised. And people want a forecast for their back garden. So if you say there's a risk of snow or a chance of snow, people will start expecting snow in their driveway when they wake up, rather than trying to explain, well, it mightn't snow in that area, but travel 200 metres above sea level and it will snow, whereas you'll have sleet. So that snow was probably the worst in terms of pressure.
Does the level of success of the account surprise is the wrong word? Does it get to you? Do you get burdened by the fact you've 150 odd thousand followers on Instagram?
No, I don't get burdened by it. I think the message is okay. Yeah, I've started getting a bit overwhelmed by the number of messages, number of DMs.
Give me a day.
Like hundreds.
What do you have 5 for me?
Like hundreds.
A day?
Yeah.
Stop.
No, not every day, but some days there's hundreds, and I don't know how... and to be fair, I read most of them, right? But I just like them because I can't interact with every single person. Now, if somebody asks me a question, I will try my best to give them an answer. But what's really nice is a lot of people have started messaging me just updates. And they don't expect a reply. They're just letting me know what,
I sent you a video last week of the rain from the back garden.
I get that all the time. And that's cool. And, it's also very helpful when you're trying to forecast something that people are giving you all these reports. And I think that's one of the reasons why the account gets so popular during like the storms of Aon and things like that, because people are messaging me real time what's happening and I'm relaying it real time. So, traditional media have to fact check and they have to go and as where I will know. Now, touch wood, I haven't been caught out too much by fake. I have had the one or two where people will send me something and I'm going, is that true? And I'll generally wait for a second source before someone sends me a picture of snow. I'm like, is it really snowing or is that somebody trying to act the prank? But no, like the amount of messages I get, that's probably the only thing. And then Facebook comments, I block a lot of people on Facebook.
I don't do any work on Facebook, right? So it's a different place than Instagram. Instagram is kind of happy-go-lucky with the odd cranky person.
Exactly.
Yeah, where Facebook is... I've seen you repost a lot of theorists.
Yes.
That you're working for like some secret government UFO or whatever. And
yes.
Yeah, you get a lot of that.
You get a lot of that, but what I also... You get a lot of people on Facebook that don't say anything, but observe and use it. And it's an older demographic. So there's a lot of people... My parents might listen to this. I'll call them elder now at this stage. I'll probably be okay with it. But there's a lot of people my parents' age and a little bit younger that use Facebook, but they don't interact with it. But they do consume it. And I'm always surprised when I meet people who are like, over 70, over 80, and they'll tell me, I saw on Facebook. And they never interact with it, but they definitely do consume it.
How do you deal with the stress of it then? I get the fact that you love it. Mm-hmm. I think anyone listening, it gets you a real graw for it. How do you deal with the hundreds of DMs, the having to update all the time? There's stress with that.
There is, but one of the things, like people will often say to me, you're going to go at this full time, and I'd say never, because I can do as much or as little of it as I want. There's no requirement for me to do an update every day or every hour. So I do it as long as I enjoy it. And generally I do enjoy it. Sometimes I might force myself, because I'm getting so many messages asking me a question, it's easier to do a post or do an update to answer that question rather than responding to another 200 or 300 messages. So sometimes I will kind of force myself to do an update just because for people ask. Like, for example, there's a tropical storm in the Atlantic. Somebody will say, is that coming towards us? And I'll say no 10 times. And I go, okay, it's easier now. Throw up a story. This storm's not coming towards us. Nothing to worry about here. And I haven't had a Michael Fish moment yet where I've said nothing to worry about and we have a hurricane. Touch wood, that won't happen. But yeah, no, I do as much as a little as I want. And it kind of suits me when it suits me. Like if I'm busy in work, you might notice I do nothing for 6-8 hours and then I'll do a few of them, or on my lunch break and things like that. Obviously if there's a storm happening, like I'm very lucky where I work in Black Knight that the owners of the company are very much supportive of what I do. So I might do a little bit of Carlow Weather for an hour or two, but then in the evening I'll do a little bit more Black Knight. So that kind of works well, to be fair. They're very supportive.
And of course, running is one of your stress busters.
Yeah, I love running. Well, I love running when I'm in the form for running and when it's not hot. I don't like running in the heat. Found running during lockdown. I had done a little bit before that, but not much. But during lockdown, I started really getting into the fitness again, and I found running really, really good. And I run the country roads around my house, very quiet, just me and nature, and it's good for the belly and it's good for the headspace.
And before we came on, you mentioned that, and I'll bring it up now if we can. Your fitness reboot was fairly significant from a health perspective and a wellness perspective and a weight perspective.
Yeah, it was around 2018. I was over 14 stone. I was an IT person sitting at a desk all day. I wasn't really doing much exercise, even though historically I would have. But I decided I needed to get fit, and I got roped into doing a boot class, and it kind of went from there. But I lost 4 stone.
Wow.
And
I just imagine you 4 stone heavier.
Yeah, well, I put back on about 1.5 stone of it now.
Okay.
So I probably went a little bit further than I could maintain.
Yeah.
But then came COVID, and I really got into the fitness, and like I broke 40 minutes for 10K. Like I was really going much faster than I'd ever gone before. And slowly, obviously, like everything in life, when lockdown ended and stuff, I've kind of trying to find a happy medium. But I like my food, so running is kind of the way to counteract that. But I also do enjoy, like I was kind of doing it competitively. I did one Dublin City Marathon. I've no intention of doing another marathon. Yeah, I did a half marathon with a friend and a few other mates in Berlin. I'll do another couple of halves. I actually, sometimes on a Saturday, I just go out and do a half marathon. People ask me, what are you training for? I just feel like doing a long run sometimes, kind of challenge myself to see, can I do it? But yeah, no, I find running very good, and it's kind of the way to keep the fitness and keep the weight off, really.
It's quite common in tech, isn't it? Tech and sitting at desks all day, screens, the kind of tech world that we live in, and poor health is quite common.
It is. And now we have these sit down, stand up desks, and to be fair, in Black Knight we've even got an internal small gym now in the office. You know, so but it is a problem in the industry. And I remember my first job in IT was in Sun Life in Waterford, and it was a help desk, like standard help desk, but you're just sitting there all day. You know, you don't really get to move away from it at all. And I started putting on the weight because there's also a vending machine. So the only walking you did was to the vending machine and back. And eating becomes a habit. So it's hard to break that when you're in IT. Now, I think the work from home balance probably helps a little bit. I think, you know, the fact that you're not commuting and you're not going to have to go into an office. When you're home, I find it's a bit easier to, during your lunch break and stuff, to kind of get out and exercise and that. So that's helping. But yeah, it is definitely a problem in the industry, 100%.
Like, I suppose weather, you know, it's like exercising, like in the fact that it affects our mood, doesn't it? And like, I'm sure you see that from the messages that you're getting in terms of, you know, winter, SADS. It's a huge mood weather combo.
Absolutely. SADS is really something I wasn't really aware of. Again, I'm a happy-go-lucky person, thankfully very lucky. But especially the last couple of years, I noticed a lot of people, when we get a bad run of very dark, dull days in winter, get a lot of people sending very negative messages. Not negative towards me, but very negative in like, oh, I'm so sick of this, I'm so tired of this. And like, you get a lot of that. And then the opposite, when you get a nice spell like we had in May and you get blue skies.
Remember that?
Like, people are just so happy. And like every time I post a picture of a 99 ice cream, people are just loving it.
Yeah, you're mad for them. Yeah, you're mad for them. Yeah.
I'm mad for the 99s, yeah. Well, it's kind of something that when the sun shines, and people say to me, is that a prop or do you really eat them? I really eat every one of those I post on Instagram. But no, it's amazing the mood difference that weather has, and it really can give people a lift. And even in winter, when we get a spell of blue skies for a couple of days, you just notice that mood, that kind of change in people's the tone of the messages.
Can I ask you, what should people know about the weather? Like, is there like a mini weather toolkit, right? That people should know what an eyes up hour is, or I don't know, whatever. Like, you know, is there a set of things that everyone should know or know how to do with regards to weather?
The number one thing is know how to read the rainfall radar. because in Ireland, a lot of the time we get showers and we get rain that stop. We don't get like a whole day of rain. Okay, we do sometimes, but a lot of times rain will come and rain will go. If you can read the rainfall radar, you will find the windows in that, in terms of find it. So if you want to go for a run, or you want to go for a swim, or you want to go for a cycle, if your fitness is outdoors and you want to find your window, if you can start learning to look at the radar, look at the direction the rain is moving, look at the time it's moving, you will figure out, okay, once the shower goes, I have about an hour, or I have an hour before this rain, band of rain moves in from the west, comes to me. If you're in the west, you're unlucky because you always get it first. But
the west, is it 100 days of rain more than the east?
yeah, I tell this stat to people and they're really blown away.
Unbelievable.
But there's 100 days of the year in the east where we get no rain and the west gets rain. So, you know, people sometimes in Carlow will moan to me about the rain and I'll say, well, we're actually doing okay.
100 days.
But Dublin is the driest. So Dublin will...
Go on.
Yeah, so Carlow might get a little bit, might be quite 100, but in Dublin it's 100. But I've a friend of mine who moved to Clare, and I remember telling him that stat before he moved there. And a couple of months after, he was like, you're not wrong. You know, because he used to go for a walk at lunchtime or go out at lunchtime when he was in Carlow. And like, you wouldn't have to think about it that often. You might have to look out, okay, is it going to rain? But in the west of Ireland, there's 100 days, probably more, where you have to think about it.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, it is mad, and it really does. And like, people in the west get annoyed at me because when I say moving in from the west, they're like, why is it always moving in from the west? And I'm like, well, that's where the Atlantic is. But you know, that's just the way the weather
brings it in.
Yeah, that's the way. Now, sometimes it's southwest, sometimes it is south, but more than not, it's west.
Where does one find the rainfall radar?
Mayern's app is pretty good. There's loads of them actually in the app stores, the Google and the Apple app stores. There's loads of radar. I like the ones that all play, kind of shows it moving, because it's easier to see it. With the Mayern, you can click play or you can move it along, but it's not like the ones that show the whole island and show it moving will give you a very good idea very quickly what way the rain's direction is moving. Now, the other thing is, Carl, you have to know where you are on the map.
Very important.
Because I'm surprised at how many people message me and don't know the geography.
Stop.
Because I will share like a weather map and people will say, is it going to like snow or rain in my area? And I'm like, well, where are you? And like, it's very obvious. So I was like, yeah, you can see it on the map. Oh, is that where I am? And even what's even funnier, and okay, this is a little bit trickier, but the amount of times I share weather for Spain and people say, is the Canaries the same? And I'm like, the Canaries is here, Spain is here. You know, so it is funny how many people don't know where they are. So geography 101 and then the radar and also the satellite for cloud. Because again, like I will say, you know, have a look, the sun is going to shine until about 10 or 11 o'clock in the east. But if you look at the satellite, you can see the cloud moving. So you can get a good idea of like how many, you know, hours of sunshine do I have. Or again, you know, you might wake up in the morning, it might be dull, it might be rain. You look at the satellite and you can see the west of Ireland, it's already clear, it's moving. Okay, give it an hour or two, it can hang out to Washington an hour or two. Like the satellite and the radar for the next 12 hours are probably your best tools.
And that is again found on Met Éireann's website?
Yeah, or again, there's lots of like windy, there's lots of...
What's your favourite app, weather-wise?
Meteor Blue was probably the one I recommend. I don't use it a lot myself, but I recommend it to people because I don't really use apps as much as I use a lot of sites and read the weather models and stuff. But Meteor Blue, especially if you're going on holidays or you're going somewhere that is outside of Ireland or maybe even in Ireland, but it'll give you a very quick forecast and it'll give you a very easy to read forecast. Or it'll give you a meteorogram, which is a little bit more difficult, but if you get your head around it, it'll really help you.
Meteor, okay, go on, what is it?
Well, it shows you different weather models. So, So Met Éireann's app uses the Harmony weather model for the next 48, 54 hours, and then it uses ECMWF. But that only updates twice.
European Central.
Yeah, exactly. Medium range forecast. So that updates twice a day. Whereas Meteor Blue, if you go onto meteorograms, will show you about 10 different weather models. So if they're all in agreement, your confidence can be quite high. And what I like on it, on the forecast, is it actually shows predictability as a percentage. Oh, wow. So if you look at tomorrow, it might have 80% predictability. Whereas if you look at, say, a week away, it might have 20%. But it might also have 50% sometimes if you get high pressure. So it'll give you an idea of how confident you can be in reading that weather forecast.
You know what I've done recently? If I go for a swim, I'm used to reading swim maps. I'm really bad at it. So I just put into Google AI, is like Mr. Weatherman.
Yes.
Or Mr. Weather Person. Unbelievable. The accuracy that Google AI is delivering in terms of, what's the swim conditions like in Sandy Cove or in Lough or whatever.
Yeah.
Bang on. The last, say, 2 weeks, it's been bang on.
Yeah, and AI is really going to help weather forecasting. It really is. I'm hoping that we'll be able to use it a lot more for purposes in Ireland, like flood forecasting and flood warnings and things like that. So, but the only thing about AI is it's only as good as the data it has access to. So, for example, Lough, I've been there a couple of times, lovely spot. You know, you're probably going to have certain amounts of data, weather buoys, and you're going to have ECMWF's wave forecasts and a few different weather sources that it's going to be able to pull the data in to give you that. Whereas I'd love to have loads of weather stations on the mountains in Ireland so that we know how much rainfall has fallen on those areas, and then we can predict how much the rivers are going to rise by in the likes of Middleton and these places. So AI will be able to do a lot of that, but it's only as good as the data it has access to.
You've mentioned weather station, and one of the times a few months ago we were chatting, I saw your one in the garden. I was like, oh my God, I want one of them, and I got onto you. And so the home weather station is, I love it. I love it. When there's particularly when there's a big storm, because I can see, because where I live, the weather forecast could be X and the weather's Y. Like, it's so different. Talk me through, or remind me, just for our listeners, of the name of the weather station.
I think it was a Brezer station.
Yeah, Brezer,
yeah. So they're the ones I generally recommend because they're good value, pretty well built.
100 quid or 120, it was around that anyway.
Yeah, they're good value, they're well built, and they're easy enough to use and install. But yeah, and a lot of people would message me around Christmas and that they have a husband or a son or somebody who's interested in the weather and they're looking at getting a weather station. And then I'll get a message off that said person and say, got a weather station, my partner or whoever message you, I'm delighted with it. And recently when there was really heavy rain in the north of Ireland, I shared weather stats from a private weather station. No idea whose weather station it was. It's on Davis's weather map. And then this woman messaged me and she goes, that's my husband's weather station. You've just made his day by sharing his data. So yeah, no, the weather stations are really cool and a really good idea for people that have an interest.
Do you ever watch the news at 9 and think, geez, I'd love to be the weather fella on that now?
No, because they've got a much harder job than me. They have to do the whole country for 3 to 5 days in a very, very short period of time. And you're never going to get it right for everybody in that, no matter how good you are. So they have a thankless job, absolutely thankless job.
So you're mad into tech and you're mad for weather. Could we see a Carlow Weather app?
Actually, a couple of students in Carlow IT, as it was, now SETU, during their projects, they developed a couple of Android apps. And there was a guy actually who made an iPhone one back years and years ago. But no, I don't really earn any real revenue from it. So I don't want it to cost me money. So
you have a buy me a coffee thing, haven't you?
I do have a buy me a coffee link, and to be fair, in the storm that people will buy me a pizza. I don't drink coffee.
Pizza, sorry, that's it. Yeah,
because I don't drink coffee. I have a thing about coffee. Actually, we won't get into that.
Well, go on, tell me, go on.
I hate coffee.
So do I.
I just think
I love the smell of it.
No, and I think the entire country has lost their mind queuing up to go to a hut or a horse box to pay money for coffee. Like, don't get me wrong. People that are making money out, people that are doing business out, fair play to them. Yeah. But yeah, I gave up all caffeine nearly 2 years ago. I used to drink a lot of energy drinks, gave up all caffeine. But I have the thing, you can buy me a pizza on it. I do the odd kind of thing for brands and stuff, whatever and that. But if I was to start turning into an app and start doing things, I think it becomes a job. And I really don't want it to become a job. I'm very happy and very lucky in Black Knight that I have a really good job that I really like. It's local to me, and it's in tech. So no, I don't have any plans to develop Carlow Weather any further.
Okay. If people want to follow you, I know where to follow you. Where can they follow you?
Yeah, so I'm on all the social medias at this stage. Just at Carlow Weather. I think it's at Carlow Weather on all of them: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky.
Alan O'Reilly, thank you so much for coming in and chatting to us. You've had a fascinating journey with Carlow Weather, and keep rocking.
Cheers! Thanks very much,
folks. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode of Real Health with a very hoarse Karl Henry. As ever, you know where we are at Karl Henry PT on Instagram, realhealth@independent.ie, and on the Irish Independent website. And we'll see you next week for more Real Health. Slán go fóill.